In the tapestry of life, Annie, a 23-year-old filled with boundless dreams and youthful exuberance, embarked on a journey that meandered through the labyrinth of love, self-discovery, and unwavering strength. The narrative unfolded against a backdrop of fleeting seasons, each chapter etching its mark upon her heart. Annie's path intersected with Alex's, a presence that entered her life like a gentle breeze on a summer day. Their initial years were painted with the hues of laughter, shared secrets, and quiet moments that lingered like the sweet scent of roses. Beneath the starlit skies, they danced through the pages of time, weaving memories like delicate threads of silk. Alex, with his warm smile and shared dreams, was the enigmatic force that anchored Annie's heart. Their days were a canvas splashed with adventurous escapades, whispered promises, and the tender caress of stolen glances. The symphony of their love crescendoed, echoing with genuine companionship and boundless hope, as they built a world together, brick by brick. Yet, like shadows cast by a setting sun, the winds of change began to whisper. A dissonance, subtle yet undeniable, seeped into Annie's heart, casting a pall over their idyllic paradise. The revelation, like a bittersweet melody, unfolded. Alex had strayed, his footprints leaving traces of fractured trust upon their sacred canvas. The heartache that followed was a tempest of emotions, a storm that raged against the backdrop of their once harmonious love story. Annie's tears bore witness to the fragments of her shattered dreams as she faced the tempest head-on. With tear-stained cheeks and a heart weighed down by sorrow, she found the strength to step away, leaving behind the comfort of familiarity to embark on a journey of healing and self-discovery. As the years unfolded, Annie's resolve transformed into an ironclad shield, protecting her fragile heart from the scars of the past. Her determination bloomed into a garden of successes, watered by the tears she had shed. Her career soared to remarkable heights, each achievement a testament to her resilience and the fire kindled by her heartbreak. The ache of Alex's betrayal became a catalyst for Annie's transformation. She realized that the love they had shared was merely a chapter in her story, and the narrative had outgrown his presence. What she once craved had evolved into a vision that no longer included him. The ties that had bound her to him were no longer the threads that wove her destiny. In the gentle embrace of time, Annie found solace in the arms of self-discovery. She unearthed fragments of her identity that had been obscured by the haze of their past love. The scars that had once marked her heart now bore witness to her resilience, a map of her journey from heartbreak to renewal. Annie's laughter returned, like the melody of birdsong after a long winter's slumber. The radiance in her eyes was a reflection of the strength she had cultivated, the woman she had become. The echoes of her past no longer held her captive, they became the cornerstone of her unwavering belief in herself. With grace, Annie closed the door on a chapter that had once consumed her heart, leaving behind the shadows of her past and embracing the brilliance of her own future. The echoes of her journey resonated like a melodic refrain, a symphony of resilience, empowerment, and the triumphant artistry of healing. Once upon a time, there was a great king traveling alone through the unknown woods in his kingdom. It was quite unusual for a person of such status to do so. But the king had his reasons. To get unfiltered insights on what was going on in his kingdom and what people thought, were worried or happy about, he secretly traveled among his people to gather information directly from them, and not from his advisors who embellished or even fabricated information just to please him. But on this trip, the king traveled very far. He had never been so far before, and very soon he got lost. He had to travel for 2 more days, since he was aware that he was lost before he finally arrived at a hut late at night. He was hoping that the owners of the hut would welcome him in for the night, as it was raining for the whole day while he was traveling. The king knocked on the door and an elderly woman opened the door. The king, being soaked and tired, asked kindly if he could stay for the night to get warm and maybe get something to eat. As he was waiting for the elderly woman to answer, he already made the first step towards the entrance. The elderly woman angrily stoked the king. "Why are you so impatient? I haven't invited you in." The king apologized and again tried to explain that he is tired, wet, and hungry and that he was hoping for some kindness. The elderly woman accepted his apology and invited him in. The woman thought that the king was a soldier from his army. It wasn't that rare that lost soldiers who were returning from battlefields sought shelter in her hut. She gave the king some water to clean himself and some water to drink. She then spread a rug for him to relax, and after a while, she brought a bowl of hot rice and placed it in front of him. The king was so hungry that he quickly tried to eat the hot rice, but the food burned his mouth, and from the shock, he dropped the bowl of rice, breaking the bowl and dirtying the floor. The elderly woman was annoyed again and quickly reprimanded the king. "Unbelievable, you are too impatient and hasty, just like your king." The king was surprised by the old woman's words. So he asked her, "Why do you think our king is impatient and hasty?" The elderly woman smiled and began to explain to him. "My dear boy, our king has a great dream of capturing all his enemies' strongholds. During this process, he ignores all the small forts of his enemy and tries to capture only the large forts." The king interrupted the old woman and said, "That is good. What's the problem with that?" She smiled and replied, "Well, my boy, much like your impatience with eating, where you have burned your fingers and wasted your food, the king's impatience to quickly defeat his enemy is resulting in a greater loss of his men in his army than there has to be. As a result, the king is losing the trust of his soldiers and his people, while on the other side, his enemy is becoming more confident with each fight." The king understood what the elderly woman was telling him, but he didn't know what would be a better tactic to win the war. So he asked the elderly woman for her insight. "Well, what would you do if you were in the king's place?" Now the elderly woman sat down next to the king and explained, "Well, first I would look over every map and make a strategy to slowly drain all the resources of the most strong forts of my enemy. You do that by taking away everything around them, which means the small villages, forts, and other settlements that are providing the strongholds with supplies, information, and everything else. As the enemy morale would slowly but sure decrease, I would then start attacking the center of my enemy's power, that being his strongholds. Soon the strongholds that would be left would cool down and offer little or no resistance. The same goes with your bowl of rice. If you would have simply been less impatient and eaten the rice at the edges, you would slowly but surely come to the rice in the middle that would cool down while you were dealing with the rice at the edge." Hearing this, the king understood his mistake and realized that one must be patient and avoid haste in every situation. The next day, the elderly woman pointed the way to the castle, and when the king came home he immediately had a meeting with his generals and explained the new strategy. He shared the insights he had gained during his unexpected encounter in the woods, and presented the revised strategy that the woman had outlined. The shift in approach was gradual but effective. The king's forces began to methodically cut off the enemy's supply lines, gradually weakening the strongholds and their supporting infrastructure. As the small villages and forts fell into the hands of the king's troops, the enemy's morale plummeted. The king's reputation grew not only as a strong and determined leader but also as one who valued his soldiers' lives and the well-being of his kingdom. With each step of the strategy, the king's forces gained momentum, and the formerly formidable strongholds began to show signs of vulnerability. The king's patience and strategic thinking allowed his soldiers to approach each battle with careful consideration, reducing casualties and ensuring that valuable resources were conserved. As time passed, the king's approach yielded results beyond his expectations. The once confident enemy found itself beset by internal strife and a waning determination to fight. The strongholds that had once seemed impregnable were now isolated and weakened, their defenses eroded by the king's patient and calculated efforts. And so, after a series of meticulously planned campaigns, the king's forces emerged triumphant. The victory was not only a testament to the king's military prowess but also to his willingness to listen, learn, and adapt his strategies. The people of the kingdom celebrated not only the victory itself, but also the newfound wisdom and humility that their king had exhibited. With the enemy's defeat, the kingdom enjoyed a period of peace and prosperity, and the king's reign became one of legendary leadership. The story of the king's journey into the woods and his encounter with the wise elderly woman became a fable told for generations, a reminder that patience, strategic thinking, and a willingness to learn from unexpected sources can lead to the most remarkable victories. My husband and I'm 25, female, celebrated our wedding just a month ago. Our ceremony was intimate, held in our garden with only our closest friends and family, totaling about 25 people. As we aimed to keep things small, we refrained from announcing our wedding to those who weren't invited, aware that some uninvited guests might show up unannounced. In the weeks leading up to our special day, I also kindly requested our invited guests to hold off on sharing any wedding details until after the event. Amid the preparations, there was an odd situation involving the best man's girlfriend, someone I had never really seen eye to eye with. Despite our differences, we decided to extend an invitation to her for the best man's sake. She approached me months ahead of the wedding, expressing her desire to contribute something creative to our celebration. I appreciated her gesture, and after discussing it further, we settled on the idea of DIY cards for sparklers, a token for our guests. However, when she finally revealed her creation, it bore little resemblance to the inspiration I had provided. Nevertheless, I brushed it off as a minor issue. The real drama began when she started dropping hints about getting engaged at or after our wedding. Wanting to avoid any confusion, my husband and I approached the best man, who assured us there would be no proposal on our big day. Despite this, she continued to make remarks about her own wedding vision, alluding to how it should differ from ours. I found her behavior self-centered but chose to let it slide. On our wedding day, she surprised me yet again. Despite filling out a form beforehand regarding dietary restrictions, she approached the chef, who was operating a fantastic barbecue food truck at our wedding, with queries about her allergies and preferences. I was puzzled, considering she had earlier claimed to have no dietary limitations. The chef informed her that her allergy was present in just one sauce and suggested she avoid it. Later, she complained to us about the food being unsatisfactory, despite most of our guests enjoying it. We offered to order something else for her if she felt hungry later, but her dissatisfaction persisted. What truly irked me was her behavior behind our backs. Post-wedding, we learned that she had questioned others about the cost of our wedding, speculated about our parents covering the expenses, criticized a friend's appearance, meddled with my great-aunt's necklace, and even expressed a reluctance to give us a substantial gift. She shamelessly posted our wedding cake and pictures of us on Instagram, thanking each guest by name, as if it was her event. During our honeymoon, she continued texting me, seeking to discuss her behavior. I reluctantly agreed to meet, hoping for some accountability. But her attempts to justify herself, deflect blame, and lie about the incidents frustrated me. It became clear that she wouldn't genuinely reflect or apologize. Reflecting on the situation, I recognized her character for what it was. In a peculiar twist of events, she asked if she could host her wedding in our garden, admiring the relaxed atmosphere. But after her behavior, I gave a resounding no. As time passed, karma seemed to work its magic. She demanded payment for the sparkler cards, and I refused, realizing she was out of line. Her attempts to defame me and undermine our wedding plans had backfired, revealing her true nature to those around her. I chose to rise above her behavior and establish healthier boundaries. In the end, her negativity only served to reinforce my sense of self and the significance of surrounding oneself with positivity. Despite her attempts, our wedding remained a joyous occasion, and I found solace in knowing that karma had a way of balancing things out. As our love story continued to unfold, we realized that the true celebration was not just about our wedding day, but about the strength of our bond and the lessons we'd learned along the way.